Hey guys, my name is Dustin, and as a side hustle, I like to buy either broken or locked iPhones and fix them up however I can to sell them for a profit on my eBay. Today I wanted to make a tutorial on how to bypass the iCloud activation lock. Now, this is something that I personally have had a very hard time trying to get past, and I think a lot of that was because there were many things that the other tutorials left out that I had to figure out on my own, and so I'd like to help out with that. Now, these two phones here are very similar. On my left here is an iPhone 6 Plus that was previously activation locked but is now almost fully functional. And on the right here is an iPhone 6s Plus that is currently activation locked, and that is the one I'm going to be trying to unlock for this tutorial here today. But before I get into any of that, just a couple of disclaimers. Number one, don't use this method until you have exhausted every other official option. In most cases, if you contact the seller, or even better yet, Apple support, then they will be happy to give you the iCloud information so that you can actually use your phone. Neither of those avenues, though, worked for me, and so that is the reason on why I am going to use this method for this phone today. 2. This option requires you to jailbreak your phone, and while jailbreaking can be a very good thing, it can also be a very bad thing in the sense that it can limit certain functions on your phone. This can either be due to user error or just implementations within both the jailbreaking software and Apple software. Number 3. Even though I'm making a tutorial on how to do this today, I am nowhere near close to actually being an expert on this subject matter. I just wanted to make this tutorial so that hopefully I can make it just a little bit easier on everyone following all the other tutorials out there that are leaving some things out that I had to fix myself. So if you somehow mess up your device in any way, that's on you. Lastly, and most importantly, number 4, don't do this if you are doing this with any stolen devices, or if you have stolen devices and are planning on using this tutorial. Number 1, it won't get rid of everything, and you'll still be tracked down, especially if you've stolen and haven't returned the phones yet. And 2, if you do it, you have a small wiener. But with all of that out of the way, let's first get into everything that you'll actually need to be able to bypass this activation locked device. Now, the first thing that you'll need is a flash drive, and I recommend getting one that at least has a gigabyte of storage. Now, I went kind of all out on mine and it has 32. I have gone nowhere close to actually using all 32 at once, but it's nice to have, and you never know when you're going to need that much space. The second thing that you'll need is a computer in which you can plug both the flash drive into as well as the phone itself. Now, I'm using a Windows 11 PC here. It's what I use whenever I unlocked the previous device that I showed you earlier, and I actually ran into several specific problems whenever doing it on Windows 11 that I also would like to address during this tutorial. But not only will you need this, but you will also need several different software to install on it. The most important of which being 3uTools, WinRAR, a web browser, and FRPfile, specifically FRPfile AIO, which I will talk more about later. Oh yeah, I also apologize for the possible bad video quality in advance. I would be recording this with my phone, because it would actually be able to go close to the screen like this, but it currently has a bad camera, so I'm actually recording this on a 2014 Nikon camera, specifically the Coolpix L830. The third thing that you will need is actually a lightning connector to plug the phone to the computer. I'm probably using the worst lightning connector known to man, but it is the only lightning connector that I have, and it'll work for this. I know it will work because I used it on the last one. But preferably find something way less frayed. Number 4, and lastly, what you will need is the iCloud locked device. That one is pretty obvious. Now, before we begin the first step of this process and jailbreak this device, we're going to want to set a couple of things up first on this computer. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do before you do anything else is go to your Windows security settings, and that can be done by going into Settings here, going into Privacy and Security, then going up to Windows Security, and then open Windows Security. Additionally, you can also just search it up in the search bar, in the taskbar. While you are in Windows Security, you're basically going to want to turn off everything that you see turned off here. And while it may look a little bit sketchy, it'll allow both FRPfile AIO as well as 3uTools to do some of the necessary functions for this process. And not only that, but this is only just temporary. And even if you have all this stuff turned off, there are going to be a couple things that'll pop up later on when you're trying to run both of these programs that you will need to allow in Windows Defender. And I'll show you how to get to that once it comes up. You're also going to need to change some of the settings in either your BIOS or, most likely in this case, since I'm running Windows 11 UEFI. And in order to access that, all you have to do is go to the Windows logo, press the power button, and either shut down or restart. I'm going to do restart. I'm going to wait for it to turn off, and once it does that, we're going to press F2 repeatedly until we see either the BIOS, or if you already have it set up, the password to get into the BIOS. Now I'm going to enter my password. Oh, accidentally entered it in wrong. And there we go, and I will show you what to change here. Now I'm going to slowly go through each and every one of these pages, because I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right whenever I give this next instruction. But what you're going to want to do is set a password for both supervisor and user, and then once you do that, the secure boot option will allow you to change it. By default it won't, and whenever it does, you will want to disable it. This is because once you download your we're using CheckRain today for our jailbreak, but once you download CheckRain, if you do have secure boot enabled, it will just refuse to let it boot, so it's very important that you have this disabled. After we've changed all of the necessary settings that we changed in here, then we are going to hit exit saving changes, and then exit. After your PC has booted back up from the BIOS, what you're going to want to do then is plug both your flash drive into the computer, as well as your phone, and open up 3uTools. From there, you are going to want to go over to Tools, and then find an option here called Jailbreak. Now, the cool thing that I've noticed about using 3uTools for this step is that it will actually change what is available for your phone depending on what phone you have plugged in. Whenever this isn't plugged in, it'll just show all of this as available. So that's why I use 3uTools for this. What you're going to want to do then is click on this option that says USB jailbreak. Once you're in there, choose the CheckRain, which is abbreviated by C and X. Usually it's selected by default. And then from there, choose your flash drive, and this is my flash drive and it's the only one I have, and then click Start Making. You'll get this warning saying that everything will be erased, so make sure to make a backup of your flash drive if you have anything important on there, and then select OK. If you get a error code like this, then this is what I found will fix it. Specifically, we got error code 5. So to fix that error code, I'm going to open a tool called Create and Format Hard Disk Partitions. And then once it is open, you will see that our 28.91 gigabytes on our flash drive is labeled as unallocated. This is most likely the reason why that we got the error code 5. So what we're going to want to do is right click and do Create Simple Volume. It'll bring you up to this wizard, and I'll just click Next here. I usually just assign it the D drive letter, doesn't really matter. And then I just click Next. From there, the only thing that I check off here is Perform a Quick Format. I'm not really sure if that does anything, but I like to think that it just is more detailed whenever it does that. However, I have tried both, and it doesn't really seem to matter. But so I'm just going to do a quick format for this part, even though I'd usually do a non-quick format. And then we're going to click Next, Finish, and from there we can see that it is now assigned an actual drive letter. So from there, we are going to need to restart the computer again and go through the process of putting checkrain on this flash drive yet again. Okay, I am back here in the jailbreaking tool. Got my version of checkrain selected and it's on my drive, so let's click Start Making. Click OK there and see if it works. There we go. It has been made successfully. And now we can move on to the next step of the process. Alright, we are now in our UEFI. Specifically, we are in the boot settings section, and what we're going to want to do is go to this boot priority order, go to your flash drive, and then click F6 to move it all the way to the top. That is going to make sure that the checkrain that we have on our flash drive is what boots first. Alright, we just saved and exited like we did before, and we are now actually in the checkrain software. Out of these 5 options, what we're going to want to do is Alt plus F2. If that doesn't work, then try Alt plus Fn plus F2. Alright, we are now in the checkrain software. What we are going to want to do is go into Options, and I'll go through each and every one of these options. This first one here, allow untested iOS and iPad and tvOS versions. That one is pretty self-explanatory. We are going to allow it. Safe boot, also pretty self-explanatory. We'll allow that as well. Verbose boot, I didn't really know what this was until I had to search it up. Found an answer on Reddit, and it basically, verbose boot just shows all of the code that is happening in real time on the phone as it is being jailbroken. It's purely just a cosmetic thing, and I like to see it, so I'm just gonna do that. Skip all BPR check. I could not find anything for this, but all the tutorials that I've looked at say to not cross this option. They don't really explain why, but it's worked for me not crossing it as well. And dark blockchain is just a inside joke from the developers. As far as I can tell, it really doesn't matter whether you have it on or off as well. So from there, we are going to go back. Most people do it in quick mode. I don't do it in quick mode because it's quick either way, and same reason as before whenever we were trying to format our USB. And from there, we are going to start. Now that we've clicked Start, some instructions will show up, and what it says here is the device needs to be put into DFU mode to apply the jailbreak. This is a manual process, and that they will guide us through it. In order to prevent file system corruption through hard reset, the device will be put into recovery mode first, and to click Next when we are ready. So we will do just that. And soon it is going to enter the phone into recovery mode, like so. And now that it has done that, it is going to pop up this screen showing us how to actually put the phone into DFU mode. And what it's going to show here is just click start, which is right there. And then we're going to press and hold the home buttons, or the side and the home buttons together for 4 seconds. After that, we will release the side button, but you got to keep holding on to that home button for 10 more seconds, or until the software here tells you that your phone has booted into DFU mode. So that's what I will do right here. Alrighty, we have went into DFU mode, and it will now set up the exploit. So let's look at the phone here and see if it works. Actually, let's just put them side by side. There we go, Apple logo, and that is the check rain logo. And now this is what the verbose mode does. It just shows this line of text and everything. So now we know that it's actually working. So we're just going to keep waiting until this progress bar here shows that the operation has been successful. And there we go, it's all done. Okay, now that that is all done, we are going to turn off our computer again, and then once we reboot it, we're going to go back into the UEFI. The reason why is because we want to go back into the boot menu and make it so that Windows is the thing that boots first and not Checkrain again. I should probably mention that you probably won't have to do all of this if you just disconnect the USB, but this is just how I like to do it, and just, make sure. So I'm going to go over here to Windows Boot Manager, press F6, and have it be all the way at the top again. And then we are going to exit saving changes yet again. Now, if you are watching this as of February 25th, 2024, or sometime after, then you will probably notice the same thing that I did whenever I was watching a lot of tutorials on how to do this. They all link to this page right here, which is the official FRPfile page for FRPfile AIO. However, once you actually get to these downloads here, you will notice that all three of these just don't exist anymore. And so, for the longest time, I actually tried making this work with a different software from the same guy. I've tried using FRPfile Premium, which is right here, and FRPfile RAM disk. However, registration for both of these is way more manual than it ever was for FRPfile AIO. And not only that, but after doing some further searching, I was actually able to find a page with a still working FRPfile download. Specifically this one right here, not the Mega or the MediaFire one. And I will put this in the description to download. But next I will show you how to register the serial number for your device, because that's what you're going to need to do next once you have the software downloaded and the phone plugged in. So once you have the software downloaded and you have your phone plugged into it and jailbroken, you will notice that under status it will have a big red unregistered. What you're going to want to do to get it registered, because you won't be able to use any of these tools until you do, is go back to the link, or go back to the download page, and then you are going to want to click this right above the download that says Register SN. Once we click on that, we will be led to this page in which we will be given a bar to enter our serial number. To find this, you can either go to 3uTools, or if you still have FRPfile opened up, you will see a thing that right here that says serial number. And what you're going to want to do is copy that exactly as it is and paste it into here. Once you enter in the serial number, you will be taken to this page where you will be told that the serial number has been successfully added. From here, we are going to unplug our phone, close FRPfile AIO, plug back in our phone, and then reopen the software. Now that our software is open again, we can see that the phone is now registered, and what you're going to want to do here is go to bypass hello screen and then click on that. When that happens, we are going to take a look here and not touch it until the entire process is done. During this process, you will see the phone turn off and on several times. That's nothing to worry about, just ignore it. It's doing its magic, and we're not going to touch it until it has been completely restored and bypassed. Once it hits 100%, like it has here, it will give you a very poorly worded thank you or thanks you message, in which I think it's asking here if you want to bypass the SIM function and everything, because usually whenever you do this, sometimes the SIM doesn't work. In the experience that I had with the other phone, regardless of whether I clicked yes or no, the SIM still would not work no matter what, but I would click yes to this anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. After that, I'm going to turn off the phone, turn it back on, and then go through the setup process. Alright, I have booted the phone back up again, and I forgot, whenever you do this process, usually it'll just take you right to the home screen, in which you can automatically just go into the phone. And so I didn't actually have to go through a whole setup process. And this seems, for the most part, like a job well done. However, it does come with some caveats that I need to go over. Before I go into those caveats, though, let me first talk about something in which I said I would talk about earlier in the video. So at some point during either the installation or by performing some actions in either 3uTools or FRPfile, you will be stopped actually by the Windows security, in which you will need to approve some of the actions that these programs are doing. In order to do that, we need to go to Virus and Threat Protection. Now, you recognize this screen. This is the one that we were looking at earlier, and this is actually in the home right above that, so we just need to go down one. And whenever you are actually notified down here about the activities that the software is doing, it will be found in this general area. What you're going to want to do is click on it and go into the available options for it. You are going to allow those options to happen, and then I believe you click a button over here called Start Action, in which it will allow those actions for both or for either of these programs to do. And once you do that, if you ever change your mind, they will be found here in Allowed Threats, in which you can just make sure you don't allow them again. But if you keep them allowed, then you will be able to go back to home here and turn everything on here back on if you want. Okay, now back to what I was going to talk about. Alright, so one of the main drawbacks of using this method that I actually briefly touched on at the beginning of this video was that by doing this, you actually limit some functions on the phone. And one of those options is the phone app itself. Now, I'm going to call my number here and just give you a quick example. Okay, I have my number called real quick, and as to just not expose my number, I'm just going to slowly go up top here and show you only what matters, and it is those two words that say call failed. Now, this next part is mainly just my theorizing on why the call didn't work, so I could be completely wrong or completely right, who knows. But the reason that I think that the call didn't work was because during the jailbreaking process, I have read that once you do it, you actually run the risk of losing any and all networking function. Now, this phone in particular actually runs on T-Mobile, whenever I look through the settings just to make sure. But another reason why I think this phone didn't work in particular was because, as you saw earlier in the video, when I was pressing the button to bypass the iCloud lock, I got a warning that told me that the phone may have a lost IMEI, which may be the result of a broken baseband. That's only the case for this particular device, though. But I'm sure that even if that wasn't the case, which it wasn't on this other phone, then you would still lose any and all of your cellular function. Now on this device right here, despite the restrictions being the same, I was actually able to sign my Apple ID into this phone through the App Store. The only issue that I had was actually signing it into my iCloud and into Find My iPhone. So if your device still has Find My iPhone on, which it most likely will, because I believe having that on is the cause of the iCloud activation lock, if I'm not mistaken, then you won't be able to turn it off. And so when I say iCloud activation lock bypass, it really is just a bypass. It doesn't restore full functionality to your phone, only makes it Wi-Fi only, and in some cases you can't sign into your iCloud or even the App Store, or most certainly Find My iPhone. So again, this is very limited, and I really recommend that you pursue every other option before you do this. But if you really need to do this, then for sure try it out. Now, another thing that I've noticed about this method, and a thing that I'm not entirely sure whether or not it can be fixed, is that if you ever decide to try and restore this phone through iTunes, you will most likely be met with a boot loop, and even once you fix that, you will be then met again with the same problem, as you will once again be iCloud logged through the same iCloud that was associated with this phone before. But with all of that out of the way, I think that is really all I have to show you today. Now, I should apologize in advance for the low quality that this video is probably going to have, as well as just be. I used to upload on YouTube a long time ago, and I definitely did a better editing job than what you'll probably see here, but I'm mainly focusing more just on the tutorial aspect than I definitely am on that part. Not only that, but this is just a side hustle I do. It's not a full-fledged business, so I'm not exactly putting my 100% into that more than I am into the phones themselves. But other than that, I believe both of these phones are definitely good now. Actually, I don't know if the camera picks it up here, but there is one small crack on this screen, and I did buy a new screen, so I do need to replace it. But once that is all nice and replaced, I will list this up on my shop. Link will be in the description. Right now, I am calling it Pre-Owned Phones. That's only just a temporary name, but I think it's catchy. It may actually be the permanent name, I don't know, I'm still deciding. But regardless of that, once that is done, this phone will be listed on there. Again, link in the description. And this phone, I'm going to figure out exactly what I can do about that baseband issue. If there's nothing I can do, I will still list it anyway. Full descriptions about these phones will be put in the listing, explaining anything and everything that's wrong with them, if there is anything wrong with them, which in this case that there is. These phones are far from perfect, but this is really all that I can do with them for now. So with all of that out of the way, I hope this tutorial helped you in a way that the others could not. And other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Alright, bye-bye.